welcome to the show. Today we got a crazy one. The Supreme Court is expected to dismiss Fani Willis's case against President-elect Trump. This is the last one in the case, guys. They are all going down, and they're actually looking to investigate Fani Willis for how she weaponized and had her boyfriend in on the case and paid him lots and lots of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to actually go after Trump. On top of that, we also have Kash Patel for the FBI director. And guys, you're not going to believe what this guy said about what he's going to do. We have all the details of what's about to come because he said he is going after everybody. And a lot of the Democrats are worried. A lot of celebrities are worried. Biden is worried because they said this guy is not going to hold back. They were worried about Matt Gaetz. This guy's even worse for the Democrats. But this is a major win, major ruling from the Supreme Court over Trump's court cases. And this is the thing. We all knew that they were fake. We all knew that they were sham trials. But now, not only are they going away, but Kash Patel is going to investigate them. He said he is going after all the people that weaponize the government. He's going after Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. He said he's going to go after the people over the Twitter files whenever they controlled Twitter back in 2020. He said that he has a hit list. And this is the thing. Everybody was afraid about Trump in a hit list. This guy said, hey, I've got a list and I'm going after everybody. Remember the January 6th riots that they called the insurrection? He said he's got evidence to prove the FBI was used in the January 6th riots to escalate everything and to push things and push people into the building and to tell officers to let people in the building. Because remember, there's video evidence. The officers escorted people through the Capitol building. All this is about to come to light. It is crazy. We also have it where the Vivek and Elon Musk are working with Mike Johnson to work with the Supreme Court to remove all the unelected bureaucrats in Washington. This would be a huge win as well because remember, they've created thousands of laws that control Americans' lives, but people never voted for them. And Vivek went on to say that these laws are actually illegal and they were only made to appease the lobbyists that paid the politicians. And he said, we're going to find them and we're going to hold them accountable and we're going to remove them from their positions. Trump has announced that 100% tariffs are going to be on Brics. If you don't know what Brics is, it's a group of countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that they have said they want to create their own currency and move away from the US dollar as the world reserve currency. And Trump said, if you do this, I will hold 100% tariffs over everything in your country. We also have it where Elon Musk and Vivek are now being backed by Bernie Sanders, one of the most progressive senators out there, all for the fact that he said the government has so much money being spent and the American people have no clue of where it's going, and we need to audit the entire federal government and give the money back to the people. So it's insane that Trump is pulling this team that is now pulling far left progressives just to hold government accountable. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. We got a ton of breaking news for you today. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And thank you so much to all of our members of the channel. We appreciate you so much. Everybody already killing it in the chat. Thank you guys for all your support. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation to our family, to the causes we're pushing through. In about a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing a big donation live to give back. And I'm so glad that we can do it all together. But guys, this is huge, huge news. Trump couldn't have picked a better person. Let's jump right on into it. Check it out.
Trump has just nominated Kash Patel for director of the FBI. Trump made the announcement on Truth Social just moments ago. During Trump's first term, Patel served as the chief of staff at the Department of Defense. So, Charlie, not too long ago, Donald Trump said that Kash's new book, talking about how he's going to completely eradicate the deep state and also firings at the top ranks of the FBI would sort of be the blueprint for what he would want to do in his new administration. I mean, the deep state needs cleaning. The Department of Justice and the FBI also need some firings and some reform as well. So what do you think he'd be able to accomplish as FBI director?
Yeah, well, obviously Kash Patel has a unique observation and history with the FBI. He has been on all sides of the FBI. He, working for Devin Nunes in Congress, of course, had oversight of the FBI. And made life difficult for them. But that was, of course, before he realized just how corrupt the FBI is.
Ooh.
He's also been a target of the FBI. And the reason he was a target of the FBI is because he pressured the release of information exposing that the FBI had illegally spied on President Trump's campaign and during his presidency. And the idea that this was something, only in Washington would this be shocking. He has experience. He knows where the bodies are buried, and you will not be able to fool him out of actually doing some of the cleaning that needs to be done.
In the book is Government of Gangsters. So let's look at some of what Kash has done. He's served as the U.S. National Security Council official, senior advisor to the acting director of national intelligence, also as the chief of staff to the acting United States Secretary of Defense, all during the Trump administration. So, Julie, this is someone that Donald Trump trusts. Right. Yeah. And we saw him face the deep state during his first administration. We all remember the Russia hoax. We also remember the 51 former intelligence officers who lied to us, telling us that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. So it's important, particularly at the role of FBI director, for him to have someone that he trusts.
Yeah, and there is a history of a lot of deep state, if you want to talk about the deep state politics here, but in the FBI in itself, just trusting the FBI. I mean, we have not trusted him in past administrations, the FBI in general. The directors and former directors and also members of the FBI have been leaking information to the press in order to advance their political purposes. And the FBI should not be a place of politics. I mean, the FBI has a role, and the FBI has really lost a lot of credibility. I mean, the FBI does not have credibility. So I think obviously there's going to be backlash. Everyone's going to criticize on the left that Donald Trump has yet once again picked another, conservative who happens to also be a friend, who happens to be an ally. But that's kind of what you need in this White House, because if you don't pick people that you trust, then that's when the leaks happen, and that's when the backstabbing happens. And for once, he's got people surrounded by him. And I know that Trump is very much a loyalist, and he believes in the people that are loyal to him. And so you know that you're not going to be getting that with Kash Patel and with a lot of other nominees that he's chosen to elect.
Yeah, and this is someone who's also faced 2 assassination attempts as well, right? So he really needs people he can
trust his inner circle.
I think that the key points that have been made, he's cleansing. He's cleansing the FBI here.
Yes.
He's cleansing Department of Justice. He wants loyalists. You talk about loyalists. Kash Patel, of course, to add one point here, was the one who said those documents were declassified, period. And he stood up for Trump. He took the Fifth Amendment. That is something Trump remembers. With all the attacks that Trump considers to be politically motivated, Patel stood up for him. Has a great background. Got his JD over in the UK. Is a very, very smart operator. Has been in the Department of Defense, as was said, Department of Justice. He's highly skilled.
Well, and I like, especially as someone who distrusts government to a great degree, I like the fact that Trump's surrounding himself with people who also don't like the government very much as well, and who've also been targets of the government as well. All right, so let's now head down to...
Guys, that's what it is. And there's a lot of people that have been targeted by the FBI, by the CIA, by the Biden administration, but this is how serious things are getting, everybody. Elon Musk came out and said this. Elon Musk affirms that he will politically oppose any Republican senator who does not vote to confirm Kash Patel as the FBI director. They are not playing around, guys. Remember, you've heard of the Epstein list? How nobody wants to unveil that thing. Why? Because it's tied to a lot of celebrities and it's tied to a lot of bureaucrats. On top of that, this is what they're also afraid of, guys. This guy is not day one, he's going to clean house. Check this out.
The biggest problem the FBI has had.
Sorry, guys.
Biggest problem.
Don't you love that, guys? Like, I don't know about y'all. I 100% love it when they say, look, this is what's actually happening. These people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, is serving the American people. All they're doing is fulfilling their career, getting paid, and just living off America's taxpayers. And what I love is that a lot of this is backed by Elon Musk and Vivek. Check this out.
Impeachment-proof house. I think that we got to go big. We got to go fast. Two major issues right out the gate. One is already the one that Donald Trump's been talking about the entire time. You know, he's pumped up about it, and he is not going to mess around with this, is to fix the illegal immigration crisis and actually seal our national borders. And he is laser focused on that. He has made no secrets about that. That's his top campaign message. He's going to keep that promise, and I think he's going to keep it fast starting on day one. That's number one, and there's a lot to say on that, but it's hard to say what hasn't already been said about what needs to be done.
Right.
It's just about getting in there and doing it. So that's mass deportation. Number one is millions of illegals out of this country and sealing the border along with it. But I'm actually far more intrigued and interested for the long run in what I think of as the second mass deportation that we require, which is the mass deportation of millions of unelected federal bureaucrats out of the DC bureaucracy. And I do think that is what's going to save this country.
But you
in the
can't
long
do
run.
that.
I think you actually can.
You can't fire. We can all be fired. I've been fired many times. I'm sure you just lost a presidential race. Like we've all. The only group that cannot fail, that has actual tenure, is not Harvard professors.
Not even. Yep.
It's not even.
Yeah.
It's federal bureaucrats. No, Amy Wax just got. Tenure is no protection at all compared to the protection of federal employment.
So,
Y'all hear
the
this?
One difference is, first of all, we have a president who I think has the spine to actually step up and do it. But the second thing is we actually have and not to get too, in the weeds here, but we actually have a legal landscape with the current Supreme Court that allows us to do
Supreme
what
Court.
couldn't have been done in the last half century.
But they have a moral right to work from home 10 hours a week at our expense at a far higher wage than the average American.
Oh, absolutely. So the funny thing is,
But they have a moral right. You can't complain about
you
it.
actually brought up a really interesting dimension of this. If you literally just mandated that they have to actually show up to work Monday through Friday, I know, radical idea.
They don't go to work.
Actually, a good number of them would quit.
I'm sorry to interrupt everybody, but this is how I want you to know this. 75% of government workers don't actually show up to the office. They all work from home. 75%, guys. Do you realize that a lot of these people don't put in the actual amount of hours they're supposed to? Listen to what Vivek has to say about this, because this changes everything.
Right. That step alone. So you don't even have to talk about, you want a mass firing, a mass exodus. Just tell them they have to come back 5 days a week from 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. Like many Americans, most Americans who work hard to earn a living in this country, just show up physically to work. You'd actually have about a 25% thinning out of the federal bureaucracy right there. So that's an easy first step. Next step is, so the Supreme Court, what they've laid out right now is they've basically said, in so many words, that most federal regulations are unconstitutional. Close to in so many words, that's what they've said. If Congress didn't pass it, right, so the basic principle here is the people we elect to run the government should run the government. That's not the case today. The people who write most of the rules were never elected to their positions.
And the Congress makes the laws. That's what the Constitution says.
That's what the Constitution says, but that's not exactly how it works today. And the Supreme Court, thankfully, has had a major problem with that. So there was this case, West Virginia versus EPA 2 years ago. There was this Loper-Bright case that came down this year that overturned this horrific doctrine called Chevron deference, which said that the courts have to defer to the agency's judgments on what the law actually says. The Supreme Court's torn all of that to shreds. And basically what they've said is, if it's a major question, if it's something that affects people's lives economically or relates to a major political issue, it cannot be written into existence by somebody who is not elected to office or who can't be voted out of office.
Boom.
It has to be done by the people who were elected to write the laws. So who could be voted out if they write bad laws? That's a beautiful thing. And I think that those were seismic
That's
in their impact.
democracy. You're describing democracy.
That's actually the essence of democracy. That's the essence of self-governance. So we've had those cases come down under this Biden-Harris tenure. But actually, if you have somebody who takes over in the presidency now, as we're going to have on January 20th, who takes a posture of executive humility, and this is the key part, right? Because people will say, oh, Donald Trump's going to go, if he's going to go shut down these agencies, that's executive fiat. No, you got it mixed up. The executive fiat's what's been happening for the last century, really, in this country, but over the last 4 years included. Unelected bureaucrats by fiat legislating what otherwise should have gone through we the people and our elected representatives. So the Supreme Court's already told the executive branch, no, you can't do that. Actually, a lot of that was illegal and unconstitutional. All we need right now is an executive branch that says, hey, the Supreme Court, you've told us a lot of what we're doing is illegal. It violates the Constitution. So we're not going to do that anymore. And that requires us to take any regulation, any federal regulation that fails these standards that the Supreme Court has given us, in West Virginia versus EPA, in Loper Bright, and there's another case called Bureaucracy versus SEC. That one relates to slightly different issues. But the Supreme Court standards, all of these regulations that fail that test, we're just going to rescind them. They're null and void. And we don't have to rescind them because we already know they're actually null and void and illegitimate anyway. But we will put the public on notice to say these tens of thousands of regulations that have been written by federal bureaucrats, they're null and void because they were never written by the people who we elected.
Yes.
Now, if you have 50% fewer regulations, that creates kind of an industrial logic to say that, okay, well, then we don't need 50% of the people around anymore either. And the way these rules have worked in the past is they have this, you know this well, right? The civil service rules, the civil protection rules that say you can't fire these federal bureaucrats. That's been the historical, accepted dogma. Actually, if you read the law carefully, it doesn't work quite that way. That applies to individual firings, right? To say if I fire you, you have a special protection to say that I either politically discriminated against you or discriminated for some other reason, or if you fire a bunch of people with discretionary firings, if there's a disparate racial impact or a gender impact or whatever, you could be sued on a million grounds. But if it is part of a mass firing, what you call a reduction in force, if it's just like a mass firing, those actually fall outside the civil service rules as they exist.
And guys, that's what they're planning to do. It's a huge mass, get rid of a lot of people, clean house, and push through what Donald Trump wants to do in terms of getting rid of the deep state. Because again, too, remember, they've been doing this for like 50 plus years, guys. This is not something that they just created yesterday. So it's going to take a lot of work to deregulate the politicians, the deep state, to clean house for the American people. Thank you so much, Lay Lewis, for the super chat. Let's go. Said, bring out the vacuum cleaner and feather duster. The house is fixing to clean things up. Let's go. And thank you so much, Rebecca Herrera, for the super chat. I love it. First timer. Y'all show them some love in the chat, everybody. Check this out.
Kash Patel is a very strong nominee. Listen, I think Kash Patel is a very strong nominee. I think the entire slate of cabinet nominees President Trump has put forward is very strong. I believe every one of these cabinet nominees is going to be confirmed by the Senate. I think Kash Patel is going to be confirmed by the Senate. You look at his background. He has a serious professional background. He was a prosecutor. He was a public defender. He was a senior intelligence staffer on Capitol Hill. He was a senior intelligence staffer in the White House. He was the chief of staff of the Department of Defense. He was the deputy director of national intelligence. And I got to say, all of the weeping and gnashing of teeth, all of the people pulling their hair out, are exactly the people who are dismayed about having a real reformer come into the FBI and clean out the corrupted partisans who sadly have burrowed into senior career positions at the FBI. The FBI and the Department of Justice are two institutions incredibly important to the rule of law in the United States. I revere both.
Yes.
And one of the most tragic consequences of 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is both DOJ and the FBI have been politicized and weaponized. And I think Kash Patel is a very strong nominee to take on the partisan corruption in the FBI.
Guys, that's the thing. Everybody is freaking out over this guy. Guys, and this is the thing. I want to bring you the receipts of what he's actually said. Because remember, the Jan 6 people, the people that there's a 70-year-old grandmother in jail right now because she was escorted into the building by a police officer and walked through the Capitol. And yet they said that she broke into the Capitol building. But yet, there's evidence that shows that it was the FBI informants, there was FBI people in the crowd in January 6th that escalated the issue. Check this out.
What you need to show is whether or not the FBI and government agents were using undercover operatives and informants on the day of January 6th. Because if you can show that, you know they've been out. Hang on. But the paperwork shows having run informants, that's a 6-month buildup. Minimum.
Right.
Minimum. It's not like they just dropped them into the Proud Boys and said, hey, go, don't disrupt, please. So once you prove that, then you defeat the insurrection narrative with the FBI's own documentation. Forget what the videotape shows.
Just for people who you can't see what's going on in the room, the reason why Kash just said hang on.
Oh, come on.
Because I started smirking and rolling my eyes. And what I meant to convey with that is, come on, we know they were involved. No, look,
I
let
totally
me clarify,
agree.
though.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I know definitively. What I'm saying is a reasonable suspicion is that there were agents. There's a video showing a guy with an earpiece pulling people into the building. All right. You combine that with the evidence of Ray Epps, and it looks like you have a preponderance of evidence suggesting there may have been federal law enforcement involved in making that thing happen.
I'll get you beyond a reasonable doubt.
All
Two
right.
pieces of information. Ray Epps was on FBI's most wanted list one day, and the next day he was off of the FBI's most wanted list. There are only two ways that happens. You die, or your informant. Put that aside. Under congressional testimony, Jill Sanborn, who I used to work with, the head of the FBI Counterintelligence Division, in charge of all these investigations, testified under oath when Senator Cruz asked her, flat out, were there federal agents involved with January 6th? And she said, quote, Senator, I can't answer that at this time. Not if the answer was definitively no, having been a DOJ FBI guy myself, she would have gone there and said, nope, absolutely not. The reason she said I can't answer that is because of the same stonewalling they gave us during Russiagate with Christopher Steele, Halper, and everybody else. It's the same narrative, and I'm telling you they were there.
So you're saying that she said I can't answer that because the answer is yes, and that would compromise whatever their operation was.
Guys, and that's it, guys. I told you, look, I'm bringing the receipts on this stuff. This is probably one of the biggest revealings that we've ever going to have in the history of the United States. Check this out, because this is what they were talking about.
How many FBI agents or confidential informants actively participated in the events of January 6th?
Sir, I'm sure you can appreciate that I can't go into the specifics of sources and methods.
Did any FBI agents or confidential informants actively participate in the events of January 6th? Yes or no?
Sir, I can't answer that.
You see?
Did any FBI agents or confidential informants commit crimes of violence on January 6th?
I can't answer that, sir.
Did any FBI agents or FBI informants actively encourage and incite crimes of violence on January 6th?
Sir, I can't answer that.
Y'all see that, guys? I'm telling you, the crap is about to hit the fan for the Democrats, for the deep state. They had nobody expected or wanted Trump to win. They tried to do lawfare against him. They tried to assassinate him. When I say they, I mean that there was other countries. There was people that did, like on the Democratic side, that they were Democrats, but I'm not talking about the politicians, but nobody on the Democratic side wanted Trump to win because they were fearful of everything that I'm showing you. They were fearful that he would bring the truth and he would show that for a long, long time, the politicians have been screwing over the American people to live certain lives and to do certain things, and they've all tried to cover it up, but now it's about to be revealed. On top of that, even just like this, check this out.
You toured the Texas-Mexico border with Texas Governor Greg Abbott this week, served Thanksgiving meals there to troops. That's a nice thing to do. You said the federal government would take up Texas's offer of land for the mass deportation operation. What's that plan going to look like? How many people, how long would they be held for?
Look, I'm still working on the plan, but the acres they gave us, we'll use it for, incoming processing and departure location. So I haven't got the plan fully baked yet, but that offer is great. It's going to save the taxpayers a lot of money from acquiring land separate from this. So we'll use that for distribution. We'll use that for logistics. So the plan's still being worked, but I appreciate Governor Abbott's willingness to help us out with that land because, again, it saves the taxpayers a lot of money by doing that.
Yeah, you've talked tough on illegal immigration. You've got the resume to back it up. Will the deportations be at the scale that Trump has expressed, what he promised along the campaign trail, and will military members be used to carry them out?
Well, look, there's a lot of pushback I hear from mass deportation. People saying, well, that's radical, it's racist, it's un-American. It's just ridiculous. At the end of the historic illegal immigration, where millions of people have entered this country illegally, and based on immigration court data over the last 10 years, nearly 9 out of 10 of these people will end up with an order of removal because they simply don't qualify for asylum. What they did is commit asylum fraud. So when you have millions of people coming across the border, 9 out of 10 will get an order of removal from an immigration judge. Of course, there has to be an historic deportation operation because we have no other option. If the court order doesn't mean anything, if the judge order doesn't mean anything, then what are we doing? You might as well just shut down the immigration court. You might as well just forget about due process. You might as well just take the border off the border because there's no consequences. If you want to claim asylum, if you want to see a judge, we'll make that possible. But at the end of that, if you order removed, that's what has to happen. Because if it doesn't happen, we're sending a message to the entire world. You can cross the border legally, which is a crime. You can be released from the United States, either go to court or not show up in court and get an order removal, and we're not going to remove you. The whole world's going to come to this country.
Right. Well, you say you're not just going to turn off the faucet, turn off the fire hose, but carry out these deportations for the criminals first. But if you're an illegal immigrant here that's breaking the law to begin with, so does that put everybody in the same category?
Wow.
I wouldn't say same category. The president's been very clear, so have I, that right out of the gate, we're going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. And we got plenty of them, because if you look at the stats, you compare the Trump administration to the Biden administration, the removal of criminal aliens has decreased 74%. And we know a lot of criminals have come across this border in the last 4 years. So we got a big block of criminal aliens we got to locate and remove from the country. And that's why I've been pushing back on the sanctuary cities and these mayors and governors who are speaking out against it. I cannot believe as an elected mayor or elected governor, you do not want public safety threats out of your community? Well, if you don't, just get out of the way, because ICE will do it for you. But I would think it would be a nonpartisan issue to remove public safety threats out of your community.
Let's
but
go.
Back to your point, if you're in the country illegally, you're not off the table. It's not okay to be in this country illegally. You enter the country illegally, which is a crime. You've been ordered removed by a judge. You got a problem.
When you say get out of the way, ICE will take care of it for you. So we've got the Denver mayor, Mike Johnson, saying they're prepared for the worst. Would it come to you guys getting them out of the way? When you say that, what does that mean exactly?
Well, I've been very clear. If they don't want to help, fine, don't help. I find it incredible that you don't want to help remove public safety threats. But if you don't want to help, I've given warning. Do not impede us. Do not knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE authorities, because that is a crime.
Yep.
And we'll prosecute those crimes. When I was an agent many years ago, I prosecuted U.S. citizens for harboring illegal alien in their home, harboring an illegal alien in their place of employment. I got no problem, prosecuting others who want to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien. And I'm hoping they don't do that. I'm hoping all of this is just rhetoric. Again, when it comes right down to, they don't want ICE in their neighborhoods. But understand this, what their actions are going to result in exactly that. If they would let me in their jails, the sanctuary city jails, we're not even given access. Let me in your jail so I can arrest the bad guy, the guy you already locked in a jail cell. That means less officers in your neighborhood. Because if you don't let me in your jail and you release this guy, the bad guy, we're going to go into the neighborhood and find him with a whole team of people, and we're probably going to find others that weren't even on our radar.
Guys, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I'm telling you, it really breaks my heart. If you look at a lot of the most harmful and worst stories that we've heard with illegal immigrants, they were repeat offenders. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It wasn't the first time. They either have been caught, released, broken the law. I mean, just multiple times. And it makes so much sense what Homan is trying to say, because the whole essence of what he's trying to do is protect the American people. Yet these governors and mayors are trying to not allow him to do that.
And they're going to go too. So more agents in the jail means less agents in your neighborhood. So fighting against ICE, not letting you jail, is going to give you the exact same results you don't want. So I would think this is
Guys, and that's the part where I want to show you this real quick too, because to me, this is super important. The whole part of, and I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but when it comes to the defense of the United States, it comes to this right here was a tweet of, we spent $886 billion on the Pentagon, like for the defense of the United States, but this includes home. This includes our homeland security. This includes the border and whatnot. Elon Musk, this is from Bernie Sanders, said Elon Musk is right. The Pentagon, with a budget of $886 billion, just failed the 7th audit in a row. It's lost track of billions. Last year, only 13 senators voted against the military-industrial complex and defense budget full of waste and fraud. That must change. This is what Homan is partly talking about, that we spend almost $1 trillion on the security of the United States of America and our people and whatnot. Yet we still cannot protect people the way that we should. We are letting open this border. We're allowing these illegals to live in our prisons instead of just being deported. And what he just said is, Homan said, the governors, they don't want to let me into their prisons to go take out these illegals and deport them, even though they're living on the taxpayer's dime, essentially in prison. But this is, again, more that adds to cleaning up the deep state. For whatever reason, these governors, these mayors, they want to protect these illegals. It is mind-blowing to me because a lot of them have committed horrible crimes. Check this out too. This is from our boy Elon. Listen to what he says, again, about the Epstein list. Check this out.
You know, I think part of why Kamala's getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman?
You hear that? They're terrified. Billionaires are terrified of the Epstein list getting released. Why? Because a lot of them billionaires are on that list. But you know who's not on that list? Trump, neither Vivek, neither Elon Musk. And that's why everybody is so afraid of what is coming, guys. I'm not joking. I'm not going to be surprised if we see where people are going to be, a lot of these celebrities leave the United States. We've already saw a couple, Ellen DeGeneres and her woman, they've already left. I'm telling you, they see the writing on the wall. Crunk Juice, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Said Trump may have to use political capital to get Kash confirmed, and MAGA have to stay strong on this one nomination. Democrats and Republicans have secrets they don't want exposed, like that Epstein list. 100%. Y'all showed Crunk Juice some love in the chat, everybody. On top of that, again, too, remember, it's always about the money. Follow the money. Check this out.
Of this Department of Government Efficiency, you know, we will no doubt get areas to cut, but will we see the results from what they find?
Well, I certainly hope so. I think it's brilliant, first of all, and President Trump's coming in with that business mindset. And the existential threat to our national security is the debt. Just the interest on the debt alone this year almost matches our spending on the Department of Defense. So nearly $900 billion. We have to do something. We can't just let this go on forever. And there are definitely places where we're going to have hundreds of millions here, billions here. And we've got to get toward a glide path to balance this federal budget sometime in the next 7 to 10 years.
So, but former President Ronald Reagan tried something like this with his Grace Commission in 1982. It found billions in savings from government waste, but nothing came of it. I mean, where's this headed?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the fear, is we need to have the will to do this. And certainly the Republicans now, I really, truly believe, have the will, but we need some Democrats to come on board. Otherwise, if, God forbid, 2 years from now we lose the House, they're not going to get serious about this. So we have unified government for 2 years at least, that we know for sure, and we have that certainty. And we need to act and show the American people that we mean business. Our campaign rhetoric needs to match what we actually do in Washington. I know it's swampy there, but we got to get it done.
So, but when a report finds what is considered waste in the district of a representative or in a state, the elected leaders then fight to keep that money on the books. So it's going to be difficult.
No, yeah, it's not going to be easy, but you know what? Things worth doing usually aren't. We can identify just very, very quickly about $535 million that go into NPR and PBS. Cut that out. I mean, that's just a liberal mouthpiece anyway. $300 million to Planned Parenthood. That's not the role of the federal government. And certainly even in the Defense Department, I'm certainly want a strong defense and want to have President Trump be able to project power. At the same time, they need to prove that they're efficient. And that's why, in all the people in the world, Vivek and Elon are the guys to get this thing done.
Guys, this is what I'm telling you. There's so much cleaning house. I want to show you this, because Elon Musk is not playing around. You know that you got the most richest guy in the world, over $300 billion in net worth. He literally said, Elon Musk confirms that Kash Patel is MAGA's line in the sand, and that GOP senators will face political challenges if they do not vote to confirm him for the FBI. Guys, there is so much that like they even said, like Crunk Juice said, even on the Republican side, you got some rhinos in there. They don't want them to come in and clean house. They don't want them to tell the American people how things are actually going because they're afraid of the audits. They're afraid of what's going to happen. But just like this, people are afraid of what's coming. You've got Mark Zuckerberg, who's met with President Trump. Now, everybody's talking about it because he said he met with President Trump to avoid going to jail. Because remember, in 2020, he spent $400 million, guys. Like, this is as crazy as it gets. This guy gave $400 million to a what they call like a super PAC. That super PAC then was for the Democratic side to help Kamala Harris win. Remember, in Wisconsin, his funds were used to implement ballot drop boxes, which the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled were illegal. There was also in Georgia, where they have evidence that one of Mark Zuckerberg's ballot boxes, they had 19,000 ballots that were for Kamala Harris, yet they only showed on video surveillance that 24 people went to that ballot box. I think that he came to Trump. He said, look, man, I screwed you over in 2020 and I spent all this money and I helped Biden win. Please don't put me in jail. And now that's changing everything. We'll see what happens, because I'm telling you what, if there's anybody that Kash Patel wants to put in jail, guys, it is Mark Zuckerberg. Check this out.
Welcome back. More tech titans coming to kiss the ring after years of sabotage. Meta's Mark Zuckerberg visiting President-elect Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. He says that he wants to, quote, support the national renewal. Here to weigh in now, Joe Concha, Fox News contributor. Great to have you here on set.
Hi.
Do you buy this sort of new relationship, or as Brian would say, is Mark Zuckerberg trying to Zuckerberg?
Oh, that's very good.
Isn't that a good one?
So boring.
If it's good, I came up with it. If it's not, I know nothing about it.
Is it real, or is he just sucking up?
It's as real as Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski going down to Mar-a-Lago to reset the relationship. They know that Donald Trump's coming into power, and you got to play ball. Mark Zuckerberg knows this, and he knows that an administration like we're seeing with Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, all these cabinet members are all singing from the same sheet of music. And Facebook, if they try what they tried in 2020, as far as manipulating media, oppressing certain messages, certain accounts, they're not going to get away with it this time.
Joe, what do you make of this movement now? We're seeing this with several Democrat AGs. We're seeing it with several mayors. They're very nervous, obviously, about Trump coming in and disrupting, in some cases, their progressive policies, which have not been successful, I would argue. But I want to let you listen to local pastor Corey Brics. He's out in Chicago, and he was talking about the missteps that he thinks that Mayor Brandon Johnson is making. I want you to watch this.
Go, Brandon.
He does not speak on the behalf of the people. He only has a 14% approval rating. That means that the majority of the people in Chicago do not agree with his policies, nor do they agree with him.
Real quick example in Maryland, the AG there, they're now hiring for someone to, quote, safeguard civil rights, protect the environment, and ensure the rule of law by fighting Donald Trump. That's in the job description.
Yeah, that's hiring lawyers, right? To protect.
Guys, can you believe this? I'm sorry to interrupt, but golly, they're literally hiring people. It's in the job description to fight against Trump. I hope Kash Patel and the rest of these people and Pam I can't remember last name, Pam Baldwin, come in and clean house with a lot of these state government, these top people, and go after them, because you cannot literally hire somebody to fight against protecting America and putting America first. But that's what they're literally doing. Can you believe? If you live in one of these states, I'm sorry, but that's just messed up.
Those who are here illegally against Donald Trump saying you shouldn't be here. It's hard to have a 14% approval rating in Chicago. At last check, that's quite the blue city. And this other Brandon, not the Let's Go Brandon president, but this Brandon has done a horrific job. And he keeps saying, well, I'm going to protect our people. No, they're not your people. They're from other countries that should not be here. And they're sucking your social services like education, sanitation, and police. And obviously the budgets are all blowing up, including here in New York. So yeah, if you want to be like J.B. Pritzker, for example, you want to run for president in 2028, this is now like a 65-35 issue as far as mass deportation. More and more polls are showing that Americans support it. It's why Donald Trump got elected. You want to defy the president and say, no, we're going to protect these people from Tom Homan?
Right.
Roll the dice and take your chances.
Well, you get a 14% approval rating when life's kind of 14% good, right? I mean, that's how those things work. But Joe Biden says, people don't feel good. It's not because things aren't good. It's because the media has painted this picture. Listen to what he said, Joe.
I can think about it. What do you? It's not a criticism of the press. I mean this. You know me too well. Is that you turn on the television, you don't see a lot of good news. Even the stuff that is good news doesn't seem to sell very well. And so when you turn on TV, everything looks bad. Everything looks bad.
I don't know. Sometimes what's on TV is just what's happening, Joe. It's not a creation. It's just a reality.
Everything looks bad, Brian, because everything is pretty much bad, right? I mean, you have inflation that is still rising about 3 times as high than it was under Donald Trump, for example. People are paying way too much for groceries. They see rising crime in their neighborhoods, driving people out of places like New York, San Francisco, and Chicago to places like Tennessee, Texas, and Florida. They see the border, 12 to 15 million. Who knows how many people have come in, including those on the terror watch list. So everything looks bad because everything has been bad under this president, and that's why Donald Trump won the popular vote every swing state. The Senate is in GOP hands. The House is in GOP hands because Americans felt this presidency and they didn't feel very good about it. That's right.
Joe, we love having you here.
Guys, that's the thing. I mean, the people's, I feel like true colors is truly coming out. And I feel like if you are a citizen in one of these states where you rely on Social Security, Medicare, you rely on food stamps, or you just rely on just the help of the United States when it comes to your taxpayer dollars that you paid in. Listen to this. Another senator out of California has come out and said that they are going to use taxpayer dollars to fund the legal help for illegal immigrants to try to keep them in the United States. Check this out.
There doesn't have to be a conflict unless that's what Trump wants.
The governor has called a special session that will convene this week to set aside money to battle the Trump administration. Will some of that money also be set aside to protect migrants and undocumented immigrants in California as they seek either legal advice or continued legal financial backing to support their efforts to stay within California and the United States?
Yeah. Again, if the first Trump administration is any indicator, we know that there will continue to be a lot of fear in communities, and communities that deserve to know what their rights are and what their rights are not. And so if it's legal assistance, legal advice, legal support, that's just the California way. We embrace our diversity. Our diversity is what's made our communities thrive and our economy thrive. And so we will assist families against the threats of the Trump administration.
You hear that? Again, if I, like, this just makes me upset because as a U.S. citizen, it's like, you want to protect these people that are not citizens. And again, too, I go back to the analogy of if I have to take care of my house before I take care of neighbors' houses and neighbors' bills and neighbors' kids and neighbors' family. Like, I have to protect my house. And this is our home. The United States is our home. Our brothers and sisters are is everybody's U.S. citizens, and we've got to make sure that we protect our own before we help somebody else out. And right now, we don't do a good job of that. We got homeless veterans. We got seniors that are living on less than $1,000 a month trying to make it. We've got a lot of children that don't have enough food to eat. I mean, it literally blows my mind that these people have the audacity to say that. But again, there are some people that are coming around. Some Democrats are coming around. Check this out. Top Democratic strategist James Carville demands audit of Kamala Harris's campaign funds. Thank you so much, B1 Sly One, for gifting TrueLife News membership. Let's go. Y'all show B1 Sly One some love in the chat, everybody. And Miss Lady Tiger, welcome to the fam. He said the Harris campaign raised around $1.5 billion. Carville said, does anybody have any idea where and that money went? We're going to audit the campaign. We're going to audit everything. Again, She spent $1.5 billion she lost, and they don't have any clue of where all the money went. And on top of that, there's more stuff coming out with how we deal with protecting our own and protecting people from other countries. Listen to this, guys, because you can't make this stuff up. When you have it where right now we're looking at the Trump 2.0 administration, and all the people that he's bringing on board are vastly different than his first administration. Check this out.
Maryland overwhelmingly went for Vice President Harris in this election. You think this is just maybe a sour grapes thing, and they're just a smaller group being more vocal? Because we didn't see this reaction when the Iranian president spoke at the UN earlier this year in New York.
Yeah, no question. Obviously, the Iranian ambassador's speech, and that again, this is a demonstration of democracy. They are an adversary we're at war with, and yet they get to come to New York and speak openly, freely, put out their ideas, and we welcome them, and we protect them to make sure they're not assassinated on our soil while they're trying to kill our president on ours. I mean, again, you gotta love democracy.
Yeah, so Kevin, I want to throw one more off topic to you. Well, because, you know, I can. What are your thoughts with the overall business environment? Will we see an uptick of mergers over the next 4 years? And if some have maybe held off on that during this past administration, do you think more mergers would be a good thing?
Mergers are a good thing if they drive efficiencies. And there's many industries that are very fragmented and would like to merge, particularly, for example, in regional banking, where there's a lot of pressure to have fewer smaller banks for a bunch of reasons. But the regulatory environment in the previous administration was punitive, downright punitive. And, you know, pursuing our big tech companies and trying to break them up and sell off their assets is not the right way to go, because technology's proved itself over and over again that really it's innovation, not regulation, that changes the market so quickly. So just when you think Google can't lose, something else comes along, or you thought that, you know, Facebook was the only social media platform. Look at what TikTok did in 3 years. I would really like to change management in the regulatory agencies to a more open, I want to use that word, because really I love the way the market works and self-corrects itself. I'm a market-driven guy, everybody knows that. But I hate a single individual deciding what is right and wrong for a market. That in itself is un-American. And that's what I think the market senses in the Trump administration for at least the first 2 years. We're going to get rid of all those people, and we're going to get a different tonality to M&A, and it'll be a good thing for everybody.
So in many cases, those regulators aren't voted into office and not even appointed. In many cases, they're just there at the moment. So that's what this DOGE sort of will get at, is maybe identifying those folks there. You know, how effective do you think President Trump is going to be this next time around? The first time he saw a lot of pushback from that establishment that's been there.
Yes. But I think he's a lot smarter. I think Trump 2.0 is going to be a far more stable Trump. Let's put it that way. If you look at the picks that he's brought in, yes, there's a lot of loyalty there, but some really good talent. And, you know, if you think Trump 2.0 is going to be better, you also have the DOGE factor, which I think is intriguing everybody to the left and right. The idea of saving money and getting rid of waste in government is a really interesting idea, no matter who you are. If you can save dollars, your tax dollars, and put them into a more productive use, I don't care if you're liberal or you're conservative, I don't care who you are, you have to like that idea. That's a bipartisan idea. So I really love where he's going with this thing, and it could be a great legacy for him. Right. There's a lot of excitement in business at CEOs. And, you know, I represent a lot of small businesses too, and the 5 to 500 employees. They're loving this. They're just loving this.
And we feel it in the market so far. We'll see how long this lasts. Kevin O'Leary, appreciate it.
Guys, this is good stuff. The Trump 2.0 is real. And thank you so much, Andy, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, are they going to release any more money to the Looney Tunes that we have in the White House? Also, what happened to the people they were counting the votes to any one of them win? Thank you so much, Andy. I'll show Andy some love in the chat. So, guys, this is currently, can you believe this? That we still are moving towards a month after the dang election happened, and we still don't have the results for some House seats. That's how corrupt things are right now. You're telling me in 2024, we don't know within a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, who won an election because of the ballot counting and how it's done? It is ridiculous. California is like the Silicon Valley, top, fifth or sixth GDP in the entire world, and they can't figure out a way to count the votes in a proper amount of time. Well, thank God we're still in the majority. Republicans are 220 to the Dems 214. There's still two House seats that we're waiting on, and they're both in California on what is going to happen. So hopefully we win those two, but I'm telling you, it's so messed up of where the House seats are at. But when we go back to the money, guys, the money is, they said, Trump has said, Johnson has said that we're going to pull back. They said it's $1.7 trillion in Biden's spending from what he has allocated through executive order. And this is big, guys, because remember, the United States is the reserve currency in the world. We've got to make sure that we start lowering our debt. I showed you a couple of shows ago that the United States GDP to debt is really, really close. And we've got to fix that. We've got to lower our debt. A lot of people are saying that the United States is unstable with our currency, and that's why they wanted to create their own currency, Brics. But when Trump heard this, he announced 100% tariffs on Brics if they create a currency. This is what he said. The idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the world wonderful United States economy. They can go find another sucker. There is no chance that the BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade, and in any country that tries should wave goodbye to America. This is a president we need, a backbone. If we're the number one superpower in the world, we got to act like it. We get screwed over by so many countries. We give so many countries billions of dollars, yet they screw us over year after year. Trump said it's over. We're going to put America first. You're going to treat us like how we should be treated because we've been taking care of y'all, especially even with like NATO. And we are going to make sure that American people stop getting screwed over. This is the type of president we need, everybody. And I'm so thankful because you would never see this out of Biden. You would never see this out of Kamala Harris. They would bend the knee and do whatever these other countries wanted instead of having the backbone to stand up for the American people. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Guys, appreciate y'all so much. Want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And thank you so much to all of our members of the channel. And if you haven't hit the thumbs up, like button, please do that. It really does help to grow the channel. Want to say thank you to everybody that's given a super chat donation. Lay Lewis, Rebecca Herrera, Crunk Juice, Andy. Thank you, B1 Sly One, for gifting True Life News membership. Guys, we couldn't do it without you. We love y'all so much. We are here for y'all. Thank you for supporting us. You know, over the weekend, me and my family went to see the Ark Encounter in Kentucky, and it was so cool to see, you know, what actually, like how big it was to take the kids. My 3-year-old was going crazy. She was saying, Daddy, Daddy, you know, pick me up. Let me see this. Let me see that. And it's such a blessing that we could have done that. Just thank y'all for your support. And I just want to say, again, me and my family are so grateful for every single one of y'all that watches. You know, we're here to serve y'all. We couldn't do this without y'all. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but I'm here. I've got the energy drink, trying to get myself up so I can make sure that y'all are informed. But I love you all. Appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.